Oh boy. So I'm going to start the stream by dropping the model. How to successfully drop a model that's irreplaceable, that is 3D print master, that, you know, you've carried with you from Texas, and break it off its little base. But that's okay, because they were silly. Reaper, I'm looking at you, and used a Games Workshop flight base for this model to prop it up. These things are the most fragile entities known to humankind, and they chose to prop up a gigantic 3D print with it. What? Why, Ed? Why? So yes, that's the dealio. And so I have now. She's actually got a pin in her leg. Yeah, savage mistake. No kidding, right, Liquid? If you have ever worked with a Games Workshop flight base, you know how horrible these are to deal with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave her off of here, because I can fix it at some future time. But we're not gonna fix it now, because it's just gonna break off, and this was annoying anyway. So that's the way we're gonna run. That's the way we're gonna roll. Yeah, I feel like I need coffee, Crawley, except it would, like, rot my insides. So I had my tea, and I'm just gonna wait for the caffeine to kick in. Hi, everybody. How are y'all? It's good that y'all showed up. Yeah. It's a pretty good morning. It's a Sunday. I'm a little sleepy. Little doglet got me up a couple times during the night. But other than that, they used a Games Workshop flight base to attach it to this Coobs, the most fragile modeling entity known to the world. And then when it, like, rolled to get off the desk, of course that broke off. So I blame Reaper for this, because this is ridiculous. It's like this heavy, with this heavy of a base, connected by a fragile, tiny plastic pin, essentially. Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Anybody who's ever dealt with these Games Workshop flight bases hates them. So yeah. So essentially, it broke just a tiny bit off the edge here. Like, most of it is actually still intact. So I think I can still slot this in. Yeah, kind of halfway. So what I can do is just hide it with putty. It won't be transparent, but it's just the way it's going to have to be, because this is the way they chose to do it. So yeah, they're terrible. They're awful, right? They break it. You breathe on them and they break. Your model falls over, even if your model's the most lightweight model on the planet, and it snaps like spaghetti, right? It's about that strong. It is stick of spaghetti strong, which is to say not strong at all. But this actually is played into my evil hands, because, like I said, it's much easier to paint it when it's not on this giant, heavy display base. So yeah, and then she had a pin on her foot too to go into her toe, but I'm just not even gonna bother with it, guys. We're just gonna hold her and paint her, just like we always do. Oh yeah, right. So you're Battlefleet Gothic, especially when the Battlefleet Gothic stuff was metal. Oh my gosh, they would break when you just, like, touched them. Oh, it's terrible. So yeah, it's a pretty day. Yeah, it's a pretty day here too. Yes, definitely make coffee. Oh, I know, right? Liquid Nebula. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, all the acrylic flight stands. Yeah, well, this is a plastic. I mean, this is just it's not even an acrylic one. It's straight up plastic, Misnip. It's so bad. They just haven't managed to make, like, they always want to make it so that it looks like it's invisible. And it's like, I'd rather just have a plain black one that won't break. Black, you know, the eye totally ignores black. Just go that way, and you make it a little thicker and make it kind of swoopy or something. It'll be fine, but no. So now I had to, yeah, you use the shortest ones you can, right? Because that gives it more strength and less fragility, right? Motor City Ray, you may be a little addicted when. All right, let's get to my live scene here. Let's actually start doing something this morning. I'm glad y'all came over from Reaper. I was hoping that we get a nice crowd today. But, you know, a lot of people may have missed the announcement over on the Reaper channel. So who knows? Maybe we'll get people today. Maybe we won't. Maybe people are all happy to have a day off from Anne. I don't know. So I did some reading on Figureheads yesterday. You were totally sitting on Reaper like a doofus. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, and if you're on the Reaper channel, if I'm being restreamed over there, please come to twitch.tv/paintingbig, because I'm trying to get my average number up on my Twitch dashboard. So, yes. Hi, Carrie. Yeah. Just got done watching Black Hair. Oh, I mean, I didn't use black indigo on that black hair though, Casmania. I only used black indigo on the little swatch. But I mean, black indigo, you can get close by like 4 drops of pure black, 1 drop of clear blue, and maybe 2 drops of magenta, clear magenta. You get close. It's not going to be a precise match. It's just going to give you kind of a dark indigo, or really, really dark indigo. But it's pretty much impossible, like, for me to like precise match an entire gallon formula with just little drops, 6 little drops of paint. So the best I can do is get you close. But I don't actually use that on the Sword of Dawn. For those of you who didn't see it, I did a lot of hair on my Sword of Dawn yesterday to make it shiny. So, but I just mixed rich indigo in with walnut, about 50-50, for that hair. Nightmare Black is too blue, Val, but it'd be good for anime. Like, if you were going to do that anime, like, really dark blue hair, then Nightmare would work really well. You're funny. Hey, Val. Hey, everybody. Hey, we're up to 33 people. Yay! If we get to 40, we'll be above my average. So that's good. That's good. So, yeah. Yes, I saw a hummingbird on my little walk with Kiri this morning, too. I was so happy. I love hummingbirds. They're so fantastic. So, yeah, I was looking at figureheads yesterday, and they used to paint them with oil paint, guys, and I didn't have time to, like, whip out my Winsor Newton Artisan, but maybe at some point we'll do something on her in oils, just for fun, because ever since Wapple's been, doing it, I've been tempted to get back into oils, but we'll do the acrylics today. I have a color scheme in mind. I think I'm actually going pink and dark green with a cream petticoat. That's kind of what I have in my head. I looked at visual references. I actually got some really good, like, weathered wood references. The problem with figureheads is that usually when you look at pictures of them, they're either, like, fully painted, like, really solidly because they've been restored, or they're just totally bleached out and you can't see any paint on them. So you have to really look to find ones that are, like, weathered, right? It's, and not restored and not completely naked. So yeah. Yeah, hummingbirds, I'm sure, are going to migrate. Yeah, oils, I mean, it's a weird learning curve with oils. You want to, watching James, though, if you've been watching James's streams, he really does give you all the tools you need, other than just getting used to working with oil. Obviously, you got to do that yourself, right? Let me start getting colors out here. But, I mean, he gives you the clues, and he shows you, he tells you what he's doing. Maybe not to the extent that I do, but after watching him work with them, I felt confident enough that I could work with them. I haven't worked with oils since college, though. Okay, yeah. If your mom's an oil painter, James working with oils on a figure is a very different beast from working with oils on canvas. On canvas, you're trying to, like, build up. I mean, you're sometimes starting with kind of a scrummed-in background of thin paint. But James, just like miniature painting, is different from painting acrylics on canvas somewhat. It's more like painting acrylics on illustration board. So oil's the same thing. So you're using, like, a really thin, just very little paint so that you don't over glob the surface. So that's going to be the challenge. Definitely work on a bigger piece, I would say. You can do it on slightly smaller pieces, like 54 millimeter, but I think it's hard. Well, Val, if you don't know how to use the oils, then watch James Wapple, Wappelonius, or Wappelius on Twitch. James is always singing the praises of oils. And he talks a little bit about when he's doing it. He shows you a lot. You still won't be able to, like, get really good at it until you put some time in. Oils are just so weird. They're just so weird. I'm 41, yay, 45, woo! Awesome, fantastic. My Twitch dashboard is it says 33, so I don't know if we've got some people watching on Reaper Mini. Like, I don't know if Reaper Mini is, or if the Reaper Twitch is currently restreaming me, and maybe we've got people over there. But if you are over there, come on over to my actual channel, twitch.tv/paintingbig, and that way we get credit. And here we are. All right, so I'm going to use my favorite. Actually, I was talking about this mix yesterday, guys. But I really like using Ancient Oak with pink. Green was a common color for figureheads. Like, blue showed up, though blue was a little more expensive. Greens showed up quite a bit, dark green especially, like a dark kind of foresty green with really vibrant highlights. Pale green was common. They did skin tones, obviously. So what they did is they carved these guys out of hardwood, like oak often, sometimes even mahogany. I found one mahogany one. And then they had artists paint them. So they hired somebody to sculpt it, hired somebody to paint it. So it really was an expensive undertaking to do a figurehead like this. And also they were really heavy, and they tended to affect the way the boat moved through the water, which is why they fell out of fashion and were replaced by like a little bust or much more lightweight figure, or just a painted on thing, or a little coat of arms, which was, more flush with the bow. So the interesting thing, though, is I was reading an article about some people who were restoring a figurehead that had gotten a lot of water rot. And I had been trying to figure out like what they used to paint them, and I thought it was oil paints. And sure enough, in this article, they said the only reason they were able to restore the figurehead was that so many layers of oil paint had gone on over the years that it had protected the outer shell of the wood because of the oil that had soaked in. So it had protected the outer shell from the water, and it's the only way that they managed to restore it, because otherwise they had to like the whole interior was rotted to like just damp wet sawdust, and they had to pretty much shoot it up with foam to support the inside, but the outside layer still had enough form and strength because of oil that repelled the water and retarded the rotting process. So yes, they actually used oil paints. They hired actual painters to paint these guys, and so doing an oil paint on this, or at least part of it, would be kind of cool. So maybe we'll do the face that way. But I want to do, I'm thinking green, I'm thinking pink. I really like, I did this color combo on a different model. Some of you from Paint Club will probably remember it. It was for George R. R. Martin, one of his older little ball gown, figures. He has these, really old historical figures that he likes me to paint. I'm going to do just straight up ancient oak at first, I think. But I did an ancient oak highlighted up with Naga. I'm not going to go too much into the Naga this time. I still want a bit of this blue, I think. But yeah, I've been studying. There's some really interesting things that happen. It's not like now the paints leach off differently when you're dealing with oils, right? Because I was wondered about that. Because you look at a barn, right, that's painted with more modern paint, even if it's from the 1900s, early 1900s, and it's flaking, right? The paint is flaking off. That doesn't happen with oils. Not at all. So instead you get this kind of like worn off or rub off, like it'll get really thin, and you can kind of see that the wood is through it, and then it'll get like kind of just leached off entirely in patches. And then you get some weird marbling effects sometimes, just because the way that these things weathered was that they're being splashed by seawater all the time, right? So you usually see a lot of weathering lower down on the figurehead, a little less up top. And that it goes in weird, odd patterns. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's really, the way of it being weathered is really interesting. And like I said, it's hard to find photos these days because most of them have been restored, thus repainted, often repainted with epoxy paint, which essentially retards rotting. So but I love this stuff. In order to paint something like this, where you're doing like something historical or something that has a basis in history, and you're trying to reproduce an effect, research it. Do your research. Do your homework. It's do your homework time. That's essentially what it is. Go for it. I mean, I've been listening to motivational books lately, and my latest one is Rise and Grind, and he's got a set of little rules that he likes to put out. And the first one is go for it, and the second one is research. Do your homework. So, all right, here, let us get some, maybe I'll do just kind of an example real quick. Is there a big pigment difference between ancient oak and peacock green? Yes, a crap ton, Lady Dyer. Oh my gosh, there's such a big difference. Peacock is loaded with high solid pigments. Oh yay, thanks Star Wars Geek. Thanks for the follow. So peacock, here, I've got it. One, it's very vibrant, you'll be able to see here. Big difference here. So very intense color here, and it's loaded up with very, with high density pigments, the same ones we used in HD. The saturation level tells you it's loaded with pigment. This one is grayed out on purpose. I mean, it does have black and white added to it. I was looking for precisely this, a more masculine dark green, so to speak. But Peacock has a heavy blue load of pigment, like a really heavy blue load. So if you like add water to Peacock, you will often see it'll shift blue. And so this covers, I would say, a bit better than Ancient Oak, but it's also just a completely different color. Like they are completely different colors. I like Ancient Oak. It still has decent coverage. Hey there, MCC. Thanks for the sub. Awesome. Yeah, we've been doing so good on the stream here recently. Like, since I started Twitch, guys, it was really a gamble. I was like, well, is Twitch realistic? You hear so much pessimism out there, right? You hear the whole, oh, well, there's so many people on Twitch, you'll never stand out. It's really hard to get partner and all this stuff if you're, a miniature painter. I don't believe in, like, buying into that stuff. Like, I decided I was going to give it an honest try, and the key to making something work when you're told that the odds are against you is to work hard. To do your research, to work hard, to be honest about, whether it's for you. I explored Twitch just as another income stream. We were talking a bit about the business of being a miniature painter yesterday. And when you freelance in anything, and I'm using this almost full strength, by the way. It's probably 5-1, maybe 4-1 now. I added a little extra water because it does cover well, so I can get away with it. Lets me move a little faster. But having multiple income streams when you're a freelancer is key, because then if something happens or something goes bad with one of them, you don't lose all your income. So even though I love the Patreon, it definitely is my primary source of support. It's unwise for me to have all of my eggs in the Patreon basket. You just never know what's going to happen in the future. So once I realized that I liked streaming, I was like, well, let's go for it, right? And see how it does. So I've been very pleased with my first month on Twitch. And if we can keep it up and keep growing, then I will definitely continue to do my own Twitch. And it's just another audience. It's another, you're going to see me try some tactics to grow our Twitch, to grow this Twitch channel. So you're going to see me probably do some streams on other than art. Like right now, I use the art channel because that's what Justin always does for me, and it seems to make sense. But I can always also do, I have a pretty strong following, but we can get better, right? Like I could whip out my, my Forge World model that I was going to do for Golden Demon, and we could stream on the Warhammer channel for once, right? We could whip out, a Pathfinder figure that I've had for a D&D character for a long time, and we could stream on D&D. Things like that. So that's kind of stuff that I'm going to be trying to see if we can just attract a few more people here and there, because you've got to keep working at it. Like, when building an audience is slow and steady, and it's trying new things. And yeah, I already have an audience, but obviously, you could always improve, right? So if I do decide I want Twitch partner, I need to get that 75 viewers every stream. And I firmly believe we can get there. It just, we might just expand. Plus, I just really like a diverse community. I like a bunch of people from all different places. There's so much overlap in our hobby between the D&D crowd and the painting crowd and the Warhammer crowd and, all of that stuff. We all, like, enjoy each other's stuff, right? So, thanks for the emotes. Oh, and thanks for the gifts. Yes, I just saw, Rubigon, that you did the gifted sub for MCC. Thank you. So this is all interesting. And over the next several months, and the other thing is, if you don't get success right away with your freelancing, don't be discouraged, right? It's nice when it happens like I have with Twitch here, where I get an early success and I get excited about it, and that helps to pump me up and get me thinking about different strategies and tactics for growing the channel. But if you don't do great out the gate, you can't quit. Like, that's probably the biggest lesson in freelancing if you want to actually make money off of it, if you want to make it your career eventually. And you don't have to right away, right? A lot of people do freelance stuff as their side gig until it gets big enough, and that's a good way to do it. But if you don't have early success, don't allow other people are going to look at you and they're going to say, oh my gosh, that's so, it's so hard, and there's so many other people, and you're fighting against all this, and all these other people are already, subscribed to other people. Why would they come to you? People are going to give you a million reasons not to do something. That appears to be the way the human brain is wired. Well, right, exactly, Methophile. And that was something that I decided to leverage. But I'm doing far better than I expected to do. I had set a certain expectation level based on that, and I'm doing better than I expected. So, but it might have gone the other way. I might have gone, and not been nearly as successful. So when you're setting out to do something with your art, it's risky, right? Because you care. You care so much about it. If you're trying to be a creative person and make a little bit of income and maybe make it your career eventually, you're risking everything because you actually care about it. You care a lot. You have to do this. And so when you fail, which you inevitably will on some level at some point, it's just important to pick yourself up and say, no, this takes time and it takes a lot of work. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep doing this, right? If there's even any hope, keep doing it. Yeah, well, it's something you have to work at. It's a lot of work, right? And sometimes like you could make more doing something else easily. So you have to figure out, first of all, you need to figure out is how much money do I need to be happy? Like that's almost should be your question before, if you're really thinking about this. Outline, what do I need to survive, and then what do I need to be, to have a little bit extra? What do I really need? Break down your expenses. And that alone can be an eye-opener, because you get cut out all sorts of crazy expenses that you really didn't need, as I did when I pared down. I pared down my life a lot before I came out here to freelance. Like, I do not spend money like I used to. Commission work failures, I haven't really had a lot of that. Like the biggest part is if you're late, Mathophile, if people get angry at you because you take a very long time. Commission, the other thing, a mistake you can make with commissions is not setting up a contract beforehand, even if it's a simple contract over email. Like, I will allow this many changes. I will deliver after an approval from you at this time. I will not start work until half up front. You will pay for the model. I will pay for the shipping back to you. If you're going to do commission work, you've got to have those, set those things up. You got to have those, even, especially on eBay. Like, you always enter into a commission, like, after, like, you get a lot of commission requests if you do a lot of eBay. And so then you got to figure out, what are my rules, right? You got to set some guidelines. Otherwise, people come at you and they're like, oh, but I've changed my mind. I want it to be blue. Hey, Jamie Michelle, thanks for the follow. Welcome. I'm Ann. I normally stream on Reaper Miniatures at this time of day, but, we got canceled today because Reaper is putting together its brand new streaming studio, which is super exciting. But so I decided to stream on my own channel. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the ship's figurehead from the giant pirate ship that Reaper put out for Bones 5. Or is putting out for Bones 5, rather, I should say. So I'm going to go and do like a half and half Naga Green and Ancient Oak now to get it a little warmer. And then I think I'll start showing you guys some of the weathering stuff that I picked up so that, we can actually make something look cool. Everything is drying very slowly today. Did my AC actually go on here? Hold on. Looks like I need some AC. I'm like, if the paint is not drying, it's probably because the AC is not on. Yeah, I mean, D. Clearman has it. I mean, okay, now that said, though, and for those who didn't see the chat, a downside of commission painting is needing to paint models you're not excited about and being constrained by the colors they choose instead of your vision. You get a certain mindset. I talked yesterday about how I have gotten in the mindset over the years because I needed to sell all my work to eat. I've gotten in the mindset where I never mind selling anything. It's never, I never have the, oh, but it's my baby reaction anymore, right? And it's like that with commissions. Like, and I think Reaper is really the job that broke me of the whole, hey, Brahms, thanks for the follow. We are going to paint some old weathered figurehead today. This is the figurehead from Reaper's Bones 5 pirate ship. This is one of them. This is the pirate girl. There's also a hippocampus, I can't remember, and a figure of a Grim Reaper, of course, because Reaper. But yeah, so it's that same mindset, and Reaper really helped me get over this, because at Reaper, I had to paint whatever was coming out, whether it was a great sculpt or a non-great sculpt. So I didn't really have any choice, and it cured me of a lot. I used to call it like being kind of a prima donna, where some painters won't take a commission unless they absolutely love the model. And I totally get it, because, they can afford to do it. Like, if you're really famous, if you're Jennifer Haley or you're Sergio, you can afford to turn down commissions that involve models you don't like. Absolutely, you can. But as long as it's not your main source of income. But if you, if you get over that, like I did, that's why George R.R. Martin has me paint all of his old historicals. They're not good sculpts. A lot of the time I have to fix them with putty, and I'm not that excited about them. But what you learn to do is you learn to find something you're excited about on every figure. Like, you just look for the good in it. You look for something that you can do that's fun, or you just like learn to enjoy the process. Yeah, I mean, but it's like, I got over it at some point. I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I can find something fun about every model I paint, even these old crappy models for Gurm. And so Reaper helped me get there, because every once in a while we would get a sculpt in that seemed kind of rushed, or maybe the sculptor wasn't, I don't know. So there would just be some sculpts where you just kind of look at them and you kind of grimace and go, oh, that's going to take a lot of paint plastic surgery. How about that? To make it look good. Especially when we revived some older models from the Boneyard, because no matter how well they were sculpted in those days, they're still not as crisp and clean and fun to paint as today's models, right? So it's just variance. But if you can get over that and just find the good in whatever you're working on, then you can really make a success of commissions. These days, I still would rather not take on a model that's really like craptastic, but I mean, it depends. There's certain levels of craptastic at this point, because the stuff that Gurm hands me is definitely not great. I wonder if I bet I have examples, actually, because I've got a lot of figures from him that I haven't started working on yet, because I've been working on some other commissions from other people. I finished a bunch of them for him before I came out here, so I've been working on some other people's commissions before I go back to his. But they're ancient, like, metal, like, historical figures, and they have mucky detail. Often stuff is miscast, but all right, so we've got a nice green coming up on this leg. You can kind of see, I think, how even though you wouldn't think these colors could highlight each other very effectively, one is so muted and one is so bright, but when you mix them together, you get actually a very pleasant, soft, warm green. Woohoo! 64 people. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming out to watch today. I'm trying to get my the volume up on my streams so that we can hit our next Twitch goal toward partner. So so getting up above 75, that would be awesome. I'm just really happy we have as many as we do. But yeah, so I think getting that mindset is part of being successful if you're going to be a commission painter. Like, commissions are definitely not my main income source, but they are an income stream, and they're a significant one, right? Because I paint stuff for Darksword, I paint stuff for Gurm. I have a couple of other clients that I've cultivated over the years that I do paint for. What should we do for a shadow? I mean, if this was really just a figurehead, it would just be dark green. But of course, since we're painting a miniature, we can go a little bit wonkier. How about black indigo? Yeah, let's do that. I like using darks that aren't just black, I could use walnut, I guess. Walnut is probably more naturalistic. Yeah, I'm tempted to use black indigo, but maybe walnut is a much more natural shadow. Let's do that. The dark green I started with was Ancient Oak, which is a bones color, and it's a very I like to call it masculine green because it's dark and kind of blue, and it has a bit of gray in it. It's a really pretty color, but people struggle with what to highlight it with, and I really like highlighting it with Naga green if you want it to go a little richer and brighter. Good morning, Jilt. How's it going? No, it's not Wilderness Green at all. Although this is similar, it comes up similar, but it's not. It's just a mixture of Naga and Ancient Oak. If I want Ancient Oak to stay soft, I would highlight it with a gray-green. Maybe something like Highland Moss, 9083. But if I want it to go up richer and just keep this bluish tone in the shadows, then I keep Ancient Oak in there. Yep. This is one of my favorite ways to do a dark green, actually. I like being able to use the Ancient Oak. I really like that color. And it makes a good desaturated shadow. Because usually, remember, your even bright colors go a little bit muted in the shadows because you've got that gray cast in a shadow, a darker cast, and that essentially mutes out a bright color. So yeah, I would say that in my business, as it stands right now, I'd have to break down the percentages. But commission work is the third highest stream of income I've got. It's like Patreon, then Reaper, then, which Reaper is my part-time job now, remember, instead of I used my full-time job for years. I'm going to use this to actually outline these wood grains just a little bit. I do want them to come out a bit. But yeah, so commission is a considerable and proportion. The thing about commission work, though, is that it's feast or famine, typically. You can't depend on it, so you don't want to make it your primary stream unless you've built a very large stable of clients, or your primary stream of income, I should say. So I asked Ron yesterday on a totally different subject if Chris Lewis, who has sculpted this, by the way, Chris is very awesome as a sculptor, if Chris Lewis had saved a version of this without the wood grain, because honestly, if you cut her like here, she'd make a fantastic bust. And Reaper is like, seems to be wanting to have people sculpt busts, so I'm just like, why don't you use what you've got? Ron said he'd ask. So he said he'd ask Chris if he saved one without the wood grain. It would be cool if he had. I would love to paint this as a bust. Maybe de-emphasize the heavy eyes, like the heavy sculpt on the eyes, but otherwise... Yeah, I love doing busts too. So, just putting that little bit of walnut in there just brings out that wood grain a little bit more. And we can decide if we really like it further on. I'm going to mix another highlight, and then I'm going to actually do some... I'm going to grab my driftwood brown, and... let's see here, maybe my desert sand, and show you guys kind of how things fade out and how we can make a faded kind of patch on this dress, like that it's the paint is fading away and we've got wood grain underneath. So we're gonna get out, yeah, I think driftwood, the desert colors, the desert sand makes a great highlight for driftwood. So those are your two colors for the wood. The wood goes up pretty pale if it's oak. I mean, oak being a pretty light colored wood. Now I need to up my AC because it's getting a little bit too cold in here. There we go. But yeah, so let's just get this upper leg here kind of figured out. Let's actually make sure that we're in focus and stay in focus. How about that? I have been lax in hitting my focus button. Focus. Yeah, there we go. Nice and sharp. This is such a cool model. Like, even if you never put it on the boat, she's just awesome. She's fantastic. Izzy Concept Art, Talon, our usual concept artist, of course. And then, here, let me get this highlight mixed up. So I'm going to do like 1 drop, maybe 2 drops of Ancient Oak, and then like 4 drops or 5 drops of the Naga. Probably 4 drops. Let's see how that goes. I mean, Rubicon, you could, I wouldn't say easily. It would take a long time. There's a lot of wood grain. There's wood grain all over this sculpt in some of the finest detailed areas. There's wood grain all over her corset, the vertical lines. There's wood grain all over this dress. It would take so long, you may as well sculpt your own. I mean, with Aves, it might be faster, but you still have all of this wood grain. There's just so much of it. And you'd have to get it really smooth over her you can see, over her chest and her face. I would much rather just ask Chris if he saved a version of the sculpt without the wood grain. Yeah, I just have nowhere to put the boat. Cool. All right, so cool. Let us mix up our new color. See how bright or dark it is. So just adding that Ancient Oak, you can see how it's darkened down the Naga green. Like, it mutes it out. Just that 1 drop of Ancient Oak takes it from this really bright green to kind of a nice softer green like this. And this is really in line actually with some of the paint on the figurehead I was looking at, the darker greens. Yeah, exactly. Oh, good morning everybody who I missed saying good morning to. Way too many dueling pistol references. Yeah, but the boat is just huge. I think Ed just wanted to go big because he wants to make it gameable. And I get it. And a lot of people seem to be picking it up. So, I mean, you can always pick up the Stygian barge and kind of convert it a little bit if you need a gameable, smaller boat. Given it's an undead ship, but you could probably paint it, change it up a little bit and paint it as a regular barge if you needed something. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, if you've got an open gaming table and just have it as a centerpiece, that works. Like there are a couple of boats like this that Andrea did ages ago. There's a Viking ship and a different boat. And I looked at how big they were and I was just like, no way. Like I would love to paint that, but oh, Jamie Michelle, thanks for the sub. Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, did somebody just gift it? Yes. Image of Betrayal has gifted a sub. Thank you very much. Awesome. Yeah, the barge is smaller, so. Wow. But yes, thank you for the sub. I really appreciate it, you guys, if you feel you're getting, entertainment or education out of my stream when you sub. I always say this when I'm streaming on Reaper, but it really is true. It's like, a sub for the vote. A sub for the show is a vote for the show. Which means that, the more I see progress on, subscriptions and the cheers, actually, the bits cheers makes a huge difference as well. But the more success I see, the more likely I am to add more days to my streaming schedule. Because it's like I was saying yesterday, we've again, with the last couple of days, I've been talking a lot about the business of freelancing and of being a freelance miniature painter. But you have to look at the time you're putting in, the money you're getting out, and ask yourself if that's within the right range, right? And so if the money that I'm getting out is significant, then I can put more time into the streaming because I definitely enjoy it. So there's no question that I enjoy the stream. So one thing about this is that as we layer up, we're going to get a little more transparent with our greens. So I'm taking some time, obviously, with this. It's a big model. I have lots of room to layer. So I'm not like going up super fast and chunky with it. I am slowly bringing it up more vibrantly. And I may need to bring it up a little bit. I may need to bring it up a little bit lighter because even though it looks lighter on here, it's a bit transparent at this point. So I think I maybe need to add a little bit of gray. Aw, thanks for the bits cheers, Andercles. You know what I'm going to do, though? As I bring this up, I think I'm going to mix in order to highlight it, I think I'm going to mix in desert sand, which is the color I'm going to use to do the wood, to highlight the wood color. I think maybe that'll give us that effect of the paint getting a little thin on some of these upper surfaces. So let's try that. Thank you, Kaz. Wow, 500. Oh, hype train. We have triggered the hype train. We hit a level 5 hype train the other day, guys, on Wednesday. It was so awesome. I am thoroughly indebted to all of you. now we're going up. We have a level 1. Thanks, CPIT. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, we're painting the figurehead today. I think I need to actually put a little bit more of a stark shadow on here, though. Aw, thanks for the 300 cheer, M-Pit. Thank you. But yeah, I was thinking about this because I was excited enough when I checked my dashboard. I always consult with David, too, since he's my partner. And I'm doing this. He enables me to do this, right? Oh, Lady Dyer, thanks for the 100. Oh, yay, we got a 1. We're on level 2 now. Sweet. We reached the level 1 hype train. Thanks, guys. But yeah, since David enables me to do this, because he's the one, I pretty much asked him if it was okay. Thank you, Mathophile. Thank you for it. Woo! Thank you for the cheer. But when I was moving out here, because Kiri is so old and I was worried about leaving her all day if I was going to go get a real job. That was before we even realized how bad COVID was going to get. Thank you for the cheers. Thank you for the cheers, Image. Wow, we're already in our level 2 and we're like 2/3 of the way to level 3. Oh, wow. Big cheer, Numbat. Holy wow. Gonna totally thank you for that. Yay! We like emotes. We like them. Sweet. Yay! Super awesome. Graymail, thank you. Thank you for that cheer. But yeah, so I consulted with David and I was like, is it okay if I try to make a go of it as a freelancer? Because I've wanted to try it again. I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about it a lot at Reaper. Thank you, Declearman. Wow, 5 tier 1 subs. Fantastic. Sweet. A whole bunch of you now have subs for me. Awesome. You guys are so cool. Numbat, thank you. Thank you for that huge cheer. Thank you. Everybody get a thanks. Lots of thanks and happies. That's what we like in our stream. Thanks and happies. All right, so I'm going to mix some of this. Hey, CNOT. Awesome. How you doing? Yeah, I came over. Reaper is setting up. We're setting up our new streaming studio at Reaper Miniatures headquarters. So Justin is out for the day, and so he couldn't manage my stream. I almost said couldn't manhandle my stream. So yeah, ooh, level 4 hype train complete. You guys are so awesome. And we're 16, 20. Boy, okay, we're gonna bust a level 5 hype train if we keep this up. You guys are so good. But yeah, so see that Justin is setting up our new studio. Of course, I'm remote now, so I can't enjoy the new studio, but hopefully I'll get to see it when we eventually can travel again. But yeah, he's out for the whole day, so all of the Reaper streams are canceled, so I thought I'd come over on my channel. Oh, wow. Thanks, guys. Oh, gosh. Level 5 hype train. Woo! Incoming choo-choo. 3 emotes shared. Wow, you guys are going crazy. Thanks for the sub, Bill Robertson. I think that was one of the gifted ones, but thank you anyway. Thank you, everybody. All right, so we mixed in a little bit of our desert sand, which is the color we're going to be using to create kind of the thinned out, like weathered wood parts on this. This is a ship's figurehead from, thanks, Samurai Jack. Thank you, everybody. Everybody's just throwing subs at each other. I love it. You guys are so awesome. We have one of the best audiences ever. Have I said that recently? Oh, we're getting there. Final level. We're almost there. 77% on our level 5 hype train. No Man Zeke. Yay. Awesome. Thank you all. Oh, thank you, Val, for gifting that. And we have a little cheer. A Cybstorm. Thank you for the 500. Fantastic. Oh, Dabra's even got a sub thanks to people now. That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. But yeah, so I'm on my own today, and this is the ship's figurehead from Bones 5, so the huge pirate ship. Thank you for the cheer, Rubicon. Ah, I hope so, Image. This is the kind of community I love to inspire. Absolutely. You bet. You guys are so awesome. But I'm finally getting... Everything is catching up now. Oh, 97%. 97% to the level 5 hype train. We're almost there. Does anybody have another, like, 100 bits? Nomad Zeke got a sub. Oh, we're sitting there. We're sitting there. We have how many seconds? Oh, we got 2.5 minutes. Somebody can come up with something in 2.5 minutes to push us into that. I know it. Ah, Dabra, yep, there's your gifted sub. My alerts are very, very slow catching up to all the spam. Thank you, everybody. You guys rock. You're so fantastic. Yay, we made it! There we go! Xandercles with the cheer. Fantastic. We got our level 5 hype train. So, alright, so ship's figurehead from Bones 5, from the huge pirate ship. So, as you can see, it's immense. Like, there's my hand. So, she is very, very big. GVD, thank you for the sub. Thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you, everybody, for the gifted subs. I wish that Zombie George would tell me when it was a gifted sub and when it was another sub. But yes, totally. Totally thank you, everybody, for coming out today. We have 68 viewers. This is awesome. This is going to push up my my average viewers for getting Path to Partner. So this is exciting. Thank you all. I'm, like, so happy. So yeah, those who know, normally Thanks, Sybe. Thanks for that cheer. But those who don't know, normally I stream on Reaper Miniatures Twitch at 11:30 a.m. Central Time every weekday. And then I've just started my own Twitch channel. Just started really getting into it. And I really like it. I really enjoy streaming. I really enjoy the community. And I love instructing people and explaining what I do. So if essentially if we can, keep this Twitch thing like looking great on my channel, then I'll stream more. Essentially, I was just looking at parts of my schedule that I might be able to free up for more streaming. So thank you, everybody, for the hype train today, and thank you for coming out and watching me and helping boost my numbers. The goal is 75 concurrent, I believe 75 viewers, an average of 75 viewers. So we're trying to hit it. We're trying to hit it. We're almost there. But yeah, so today we are doing a ship's figurehead, and I am actually going to paint her as a figurehead. So I'm going to do some erosion of this paint once I have, like, kind of a highlighted area. We're going to do some weathering effects. I spent yesterday totally sunk down the bunny hole of ship's figureheads, learning what they used to be painted with and looking for good examples of weathering on them, which was actually harder than I thought because a lot of them have been restored. So most of the pictures that you find, especially of figureheads in museums, are going to have been restored to what they originally looked like, so you don't get the weathered ones. So what I had to do is, like, look for auctions, like on eBay and stuff, of, like, historic figureheads that were mostly in pretty good shape, but that it experienced some weathering so that I could look at what the difference was. Level 5 hype train emote. Yes. Oh, wait. I need to share that. Share. Boo. Awesome. You guys are awesome. A serious dilemma whether to watch me. Well, thank you for coming to watch me. I know there's a lot going on Fridays, right? Friday's probably a really popular streaming day. So yeah, so we're just going to we're bleaching out our highlights just a little bit here. And I'm, just like I tell you guys also, hey, Coobs, thanks for the cheer. We hit a level 5 hype train again.
Oh, congrats.
Because people are awesome. David's back from the store. But yeah, so next weekend is ReaperCon, guys. So I certainly won't be doing more streaming, while we're doing ReaperCon. But after that, I am going to look at my schedule and see. Right now, I'm just Tuesday, Wednesday. But I acknowledge that if I do want to grow this, I need to do more than that. So I'll look at my schedule and see what I can do. When do you guys tend to watch? Like, do you watch in the mornings? Do you watch in the afternoon? Maybe I can ask you guys that. Oh yeah, thank you for my Patreon plug. Yeah, I forget when I get all excited. I'm all twitchy and like trying to explain painting and trying to talk about other stuff. Yes, I will be teaching you how to thin MSPs for sure. Daylight hours mostly. That's what I thought. A lot of people listen at work or whatever. Yeah, this is a very, very large figurehead. Yeah, okay. You technically should be working now, Declarement. Alright, so yeah. So I know some people do watch in the evenings. I mean, that's when we tend to watch our Overwatch streamers that we follow. Lunchtime or after work. Alright. Well, I will think about, right now I know I do my streams, they go up to 6 p.m. And a lot of people are going to eat dinner at that point. So I'll look at what other days I might be able to add a stream. And like I said, I'm going to be kind of exploring maybe streaming to some different audiences. And I think it would be good if I figured out a separate day for those, so that if I'm going to do a stream featuring like D&D models, then I want to do that stream on a different day consistently, things like that. But yeah, it all depends on how successful the streaming is. And I'm constantly, pretty much every couple weeks or every month, I look at, how's my financial situation? Where's my income coming from? Is it significant enough for me to do more of it? Do I need to do more here, there, everywhere? There we go. So we got some nice highlights coming up on this dress. You can see how that, adding a little bit of the desert sand to my mixture here, made the paint a little more opaque, but it also makes it lighter, so it comes up very nicely, you can see on there. So let's do just the front of the leg here, and then we'll do some weathering. Off to shut the windows? Oh, right at the lunch. Yes. You joined the Patreon finally. Thanks, Lady Dyer. While working in the evenings. Okay. Yeah, okay. So there's time when you try to watch whatever. Well, my stuff will probably be in afternoons. I mean, just because I'm West Coast right now, right? So it means that morning for me is noon for you guys, or afternoon. And my early afternoon is your, mid to late afternoon. So that's kind of nice because it means that, if I do Twitch at 5, it's 7. It's after dinner for a lot of you. And, so then maybe some of you can watch. That, and doing it at different time zones, of course, does help you get different viewers from different parts of the world, which I really like. I like having a diverse community. That was one of the things I really liked. My first experience with Discord was with Overwatch, joining a couple of streamers communities. And I really liked the diversity of those communities, that there are people from all over the world. I love my Patreon for that reason, because we've got people from all over who are on the Patreon. We've got Jason from Singapore, and we've got people from like Germany and the UK, and it's way cool. So I'm just going to add a little bit more shadow here in some of these places. I want to get this at least like somewhat highlighted. Obviously, I should say, I'm highlighting, right, and shading, but this is a big enough model that you could block paint and line it, and it would look really good. When it gets to a certain scale, and this has got to be a 1/12th, 1/14th, do you think, David? She's about 5 inches tall, I think. When you get to a certain big scale, the model casts very natural shadows. You can see her shadows, she's casting her own in natural light. And so even just a regular block painting job looks good. Any extra that you do then just makes it look even more amazing. 6 to 9 p.m. Europe time would be like 11 a.m. here is 6 p.m. Europe time. Or am I right? No, sorry, that's central. In the central time zone. So 9 a.m. here is 7 p.m. Europe time. So yeah, so we're in a pretty good European time zone, I think.
I think the UK and Ireland are like 8 hours later, and mainland Europe is maybe 9 hours later.
7 hours to the Netherlands from. It's 9 hours actually. Yeah, to the Netherlands from here. Because my dog club has lots of Dutch members, so that's how I know. Because we always have to set meetings so that they can, they can participate. So when I was in,
because I work with a team that's based out of Dublin.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so you know the UK and Dublin time, yeah, and I know the Zwanet time.
But there's always a little weirdness around daylight savings time because they don't change the clocks on the same day.
Right. Yeah, Zwanet was just asking about that for our national. Yeah, this is a huge yes. Yes, Kaz says hello.
What's your shade color?
Actually, I'm doing this is ancient oak, and that's walnut. So I'm doing, and then I'm adding Naga to bring up my ancient oak a little warmer. And then at the end, I'm actually adding in my desert sand. So that is adding a little bit of opacity to my highest highlight. And it's also the color that I'm going to be highlighting my wood with when I start introducing bits of wood that are scraped off, which we will do very shortly here. I'm just trying to get a basic kind of highlight shading down the front of this big leg so that these big broad surfaces are good ones to show the wood wearing off. So that's why I want to get it kind of a soft finish on it and then do my weathering. We have plenty of time left in the stream, so we're looking pretty good. But yeah, I almost went with black indigo for a shadow color, but I decided I wanted to go more natural. And walnut's usually what I mix in when I want a natural shadow, since it's that dark brown black. It makes a gray when it's mixed with other colors. Pretty natural gray. There, so adding the walnut, you can see how much darker that makes the shadows look, which actually looks a little artificial under this light.
Do you have any more of the boat?
No, I don't. I actually didn't order it either. Oh, thanks, Owlhorn. Thanks for that follow. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you before. I'm Anne. I work for Reaper Miniatures. Normally, I'm over on the Reaper Miniatures Twitch stream in the mornings. I do a show every weekday at about this time. And today, Reaper's setting up its brand new studio in preparation for ReaperCon. So since I didn't have a Justin to run my stream, I came over here. Because they're all moving all of the equipment today, and I'm remote, so I won't be able to see the new studio for a while. Although I told Justin he has to take pictures and show me. I'm sure there'll be pictures up on the social media because it's super exciting. And if there aren't pictures up on the social media, you should totally yell at people until we get them. Oh, Gran, you like the clear rights? Good. Oh no, Dogfather says he's scheduled for your class, but the Michigan toy soldier may not get the bus to him in time. Because the mail is so slow.
Yeah, that's too bad, but honestly, the best way to do it may be to just watch the class without trying to paint along and then paint it after, using what you learned in the class. I am a little worried that it may be hard for folks to follow along in real time, so having it after the fact is probably just as good.
And he has, if you go, all the artists have Artist Alley channels, so when those are live, if you go to his channel, he's showed you how he's Zenith primed the bust.
I think they're already live.
Are they already live? Okay, if you got a ticket, you can go see them. Because I knew that when I joined the Discord, they had to set me as an artist. I don't know that they're...
I think they're live, but, I think most people don't need any special setup. It's just the artists that need to have their proper permission set so that you can, post in the special artist area and so forth.
Yeah, that's possible. So, okay, guys, extra tip for you here. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks. Awesome. Thank you for signing up. Yeah. Awesome, Allhorn. I'm glad you're enjoying this stuff. So as I always say with fur, but it's the same with natural textures that have a grain, like wood grain, and you can see the direction the wood grain is going. So it helps if you keep your brush moving in that same direction. So that way, if you do leave brush strokes, they're going to look like they're a part of the wood grain, of the natural texture of the wood. And you can play with that, of course, because when we start weathering, we're going to be definitely working with that. We've got a lot of splitting in the wood here. It's this actually looks like it's probably not oak. It maybe, I forget the other, it was oak or something else that figureheads were most often. It's another hardwood, but this has definitely got a lot of splitting. So either she's been exposed to a lot of weather, which is possible, or she's not as fine-grained of a wood. But we definitely have some splitting here. So, all right. So we've got some of that going on. We got to get this front figured out real quick. This big, broad area. We probably want a little bit more shadow in there. When you get to a big model like this, sometimes you want to minimize your shadow a little bit if you're going naturalistic. I tend to want to play down shadows. Really harsh shadows on big models. I'd rather let the model kind of speak for itself. That's just my style. Because I like things to look natural. Oh, no, too dark. Blorf. There we go. Minimize the blorf. Haha. Let me see here what we got. Okay, good. Just keeping up with chat. Got to pause every once in a while. Keep up with chat. But so I try to not go maybe as dramatically dark as I could once it starts to cast its own shadows and be big. Because you can really see how this looks very dramatic here. And not everybody wants that style. Some people want more of a subtle style on a natural piece. And so either way, neither way is bad. Neither way is wrong. It's just a question of style. And it's just, you know, you might try both. I mean, the fashion in Europe right now is definitely more dramatic painting, although there's some people who do paint more naturalistically. So the best thing always is to just look at other people's stuff, right? And figure out what style you really like maybe to try. Give it a try, see if you like it. And adjust your style accordingly. So there, if I start extending those dark shadows, you can see how dramatic that starts looking, right? It really makes those, it brings out the wrinkles in those cloth a lot. You love your drama. I forget, there was somebody, there's a Swedish painter. I can't remember, but he said it, among painters, miniature painters in Europe, he's one of the drama queens. Oh, okay. David's answering questions. Good. Yeah, feel free to ask David about class questions and stuff. My stuff's easy. Like, since I'm doing, I don't even remember if I put up a model for you to get for the class that I'm doing, but really any model will work for my thinning MSPs class. You just are going to pretty much play around. Maybe even you want a little bit of a bigger model. And you want something with like cloth. So like if I gave any model, I may have given like a Bobby Jackson Templar, because his cloaks have those nice big wavy folds, and that when you're trying to do layering, when you're trying to learn layering, those are the best ones. Those are the best models. Oh yeah, Angel. Yeah, and there's a lot of painters who like a really high drama effect. I like naturalism, so for me, I'm kind of at war right now with myself, actually, because I am getting to the point where I like more dramatic shadows on some things. I think here on cloth, bringing out all these little folds really makes this cloth look like you can tell that it's not a big stiff cloth, right? That's what this tells you. That's what this visual information is telling you, is the more you accentuate these shadows, the crisper these folds look, the more this cloth looks like a soft drapey cloth and not like a stiff cloth. Oh, Xylophon, thank you for the sub. Was that a gifted sub or was that a real? That was a real sub. You're so awesome. Thank you for the prime.
Dan, it's not cloth at all.
It is cloth, darn it. It's just wood cloth. I know. She is wood. We're going to be doing the wood. Actually, you know, we probably could start even with some of the wood up there. Let me mix up my colors. So I'm going with, appropriately, guys. See, this is where MSP paints are appropriately named Driftwood Brown. But I am highlighting it with Desert Sand, because these are great. These are a great duo for if you want a kind of a washed out highlight. And with weathered wood, I definitely, when wood weathers, it goes gray. So we start with a grayish tan, and we go up toward an even more tannish gray. And this is the color that I was seeing on, don't fall off. The color that I was seeing on the figurehead pictures that I was looking at. And I think that the reason that they don't go more gray on those figureheads is entirely the oil from the paint. Because if you think about it, it's going to be like the varnish you put on your fence, right? It's going to be a layer that's going to repel water and retard weathering. So I think that's why on these figurehead models, I never saw like gray wood. I always saw kind of a pale brownish gray or grayish brown, a pale brown, like oak, since most of them were oak, a very light color. So let's see here. I'm going to bring out these a little bit more. Well, but the light would be on. The other thing to think about with these wood grain is it going to be casting a shadow? And if the light's falling right on this leg, it's probably not going to be. So let's just play around. All right, so we're going to thin this paint a lot. Let me drop a bunch of water into my my mixes here. And so what would happen typically, from what I saw, is you'd get the paint thinning in patches. And it probably just had to do with how the ship was hitting the water. Just checking up on whether you're all just talking to David. I don't know if the artist area is open to attendees yet, I guess is my point. Because a lot of us... I don't think it is.
Okay, I was seeing chatter in Derek's...
right, but it was all artists. Yeah, it was all other artists. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think they just don't want people clogging up the channels before the con goes live. I think that's why we had to be given artist permissions to get our stuff on there.
See.
So don't worry, guys. When we are getting ready for ReaperCon, I expect they'll pop them open on Wednesday or something. But there should be some resources there. I have been tardy. I will get my stuff up on there over the weekend since I've been working on my Twitch and my Patreon all week. Oh, okay. On the ReaperCon Live website. I see. People named Bug Lips. All right. So
I should do that. Okay.
I'm going to thin this. I'm going to get this real thin, guys, because what seems to happen is that the paint just gradually kind of fades, because as it's worn off through repeated action of like salt, water, wind, it's just going to get thinner and thinner. It's an oil paint, so it's just going to get kind of pounded down and spread out and soak in, and you're going to start seeing just a little bit of brown coming up through the wood. So let's pick a couple of spots, and it really is patchy. Like it would go like in kind of an irregularly shaped patch wherever, like if she's down here and the waves are crashing up and always hitting her like, here and here, you're going to see a definite wear pattern. And what I saw a lot is that on the legs and the lower dresses and everything, you saw more erosion action. Now we'll start kind of fading this in. And you can see that this driftwood color is very similar in shade, meaning how light or dark it is, with our highlight color here. If you kind of squint and you look at them together, one doesn't look like appreciably darker than the other. That's a trick, by the way. If you want to kind of judge how light or dark a color is, kind of put them next to each other and then squint. And if there is a significant difference in lightness and darkness, your eye will pick up on it when you are squinting. It kind of blurs out the actual color a little bit, and you can judge light or dark. The other way you can do it, of course, is with your magical color wheel tool, because if you have like this one, if you got the pocket color wheel, which I highly recommend, it has a grayscale, and you can hold this little wheel up against your color and kind of judge what value it is. So this is kind of key.
Or take your phone.
Yeah, you can also take your phone.
Like, just take a picture and make it black and white.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm usually impatient, and so I don't always do that. So you get less of this, of speckling, but you do get a little bit of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by kind of blocking in some areas where I want this paint to be wearing off. And I'm using really thin driftwood brown, because I don't want to lose a lot of the work that I've already done. I just want to be able to suggest that the paint is coming off in places.
Yeah,
now,
so I was wondering why you were sort of blending rather than speckling.
Because that's how oil paint tends to wear. Like, at first it becomes translucent.
Huh.
Then, after it's, like, fully pounded off, after the pigment has, like, been totally lost, then it starts to speckle at the edges. That's where you get some interesting artifact shapes, where it's randomized, right? But first it has to get through all this oil. Because, the seawater is just pounding and pounding and pounding in the wind and everything.
How many hours did you spend researching?
At least a few hours yesterday.
Researching ship figureheads.
Yes, at least a few hours yesterday. I wanted to do this good. If you're going to do something good, something well, you need to research it.
You
Darn
should
it.
share some of your reference photos.
Well, maybe as I paint this, because I'm sure Ron would love me to do that, because he gave me this to paint for Reaper, really. This is actually for Reaper eventually, guys. Which is why I have to make part of it pink, because that's how I troll Ron. Don't tell him. I don't know if he knows that. But yeah, so I spent some time actually looking at how things work. Because if you think about it, first you'd have to like get through the layer of oil paint, because it's really thick. They laid it on really, really thick. So take off your glasses if you're blind. Yeah, if you have glasses, you could just take them off. Unless you're David. David actually sees better without his glasses when things are close up to him.
Yes, I am just the right amount of nearsighted for miniature painting.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird if your eyes try to shift the other way when you get you hit 40.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at some point, but I'm hoping it won't happen too soon.
Yeah, sometimes you do get a little bit of oxidation. Thanks for bringing that up, Storm. That's the other thing, is remember that a lot of oxide pigments exist that are some of the cheapest earth pigments. So you would actually see like some red shift in the yellows, like in the cracks here. Like if I go up and I do, maybe down here, I do an entire like area that's kind of eaten, where the paint's kind of slicked away, but that used to be kind of a yellow pigment, because this is going to be cream colored. What you'll see is a bit of a reddish or orangish hue where the paint has gone down into the cracks in the wood. And I bet that's oxidation. Like, because most oxides are going to discolor rust colored, right? They're going to discolor reddish brown. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but it has to get through the oil first, right? The oil will naturally repel it, and that's why I mentioned earlier when I was doing this research, I found a Figurehead restoration article that was done, and they discussed how most of the Figurehead had gotten waterlogged, and almost all of it was just like sodden sawdust, but the outer layers of the Figurehead were resilient and had held their shape because of the many layers of thick oil paint that have been put on over the years. And so it definitely does take even seawater a bit of time to wear through a heavy coat of oil paint. So just kind of looking at stuff. Okay, good. Just catching up with your questions and your comments. So let's just do this, and then I think I'm going to actually carry that down a bit. And remember that your weathering is probably going to be pretty consistent over highlight and shadow. It doesn't really care. It's just going to make a patch where things have been washing away. And I'm going to I'm going to think about a lot about where maybe it's going to go. It's going to hit more raised surfaces. It'll pool like here, but if the water's coming up at this leg, it's probably not, it's going to sit on this shelf, but it's not necessarily going to rub paint away from it. So I might hit some of that. I want to make this big area where it's kind of coming away, being washed away slowly. And then toward the center of those areas, I can start bringing it up lighter. This is also a place where if you're not dealing with a very fine-grained wood, and this is also something you want to look at, because like I said, a lot of these figureheads were done in oak, which is very fine-grained. I can't even imagine. Like, I guess it's just like marble, right? It takes you forever to carve oak, because oak is so hard. So see how faded we're getting. Even before we start to really chip away at this paint, we're suggesting that the paint is starting to wear thin. And when I get down to some of these areas where I'm going to leave it, where I'm going to have patches of wood that is this color, that's going to carry that effect even more. Because if I've got a area that's been totally washed clean, except for some little residue of paint, like it often happens on the figureheads, then the color, the fact that the wood is this color, this same set of colors, is totally going to imply that this is exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing the paint being washed off of this surface. And because it's oil paint, like I said, it is going to wear gradually. So let's put a little bit more green on here, a little bit more of that driftwood so you can see it. Now, you can have some fun here by being irregular. You do not need to be consistent in your brushstroke, and you don't want to be necessarily. This is going to be a randomized pattern, seawater hitting the thing. It is, from what I looked up yesterday, it generally does tend to start in a spot that gets hit a lot and spread outward, right? Because once the water gets through that initial layer of oil, it's going to start eating its way out, right? So oak is pretty hardy, right? Exactly. Let's see. Yeah, they did go to metal figureheads later on. But yeah, yes, oak is a real pain. I worked with oak very briefly in wood shop in my woodworking class in college, wood arts, and decided that one, I had no wood empathy, and two, I hated oak. Um, so sorry, oak, I am not a fan. But as you get more washed away, you can definitely start like doing some stippling. I'd probably do. Let's see if we start bringing in our. It might be need more water. Okay, so desert sand is really light, right, guys? So it's got a lot of white in it. So if you want it to blend, you need to add a bunch of water. So I did a little dab there to see how harsh the brushstroke was, and now I'm gonna go back in and blend it. I had no wood empathy. Yes, that is what I call it. Jamie, that's exactly what I call it. Like, if I had started with a softer wood, but I don't know, the college I went to UW-Madison, and during the time that I was there, things may have changed, but during the time I was there, it seemed like all the instructors that I got were the kind who just kind of threw you at the material and said, well, just go for it. I don't remember being taught a lot of theory other than how not to slice your arm off with a table saw. But we didn't get a lot of help. So I ended up being frustrated sometimes in some of my classes. The metalworking class is the exception. I mean, obviously they're going to teach you not to set yourself on fire, which is a real danger if you're dealing with me. That's just the way it is. I took the entire semester to not be terrified of the torch, guys. But paint is definitely my medium more than other stuff. So now I'm starting to give a little bit of texture here, right? Let's see here. Yeah, like I can do balsa. Like balsa and basswood are my friends. Those are the only woods that like I can manipulate effectively. But when it comes to quote unquote real wood, not so much. So now we need to really get in, including in this crack. We need to like go over that crack because remember what I said about the wood changing color kind of. Now we can stipple and we can grab a little bit of our driftwood and make that look like it's kind of mottled. And we can even make some interesting edge artifacts shapes. Like, it'll kind of streak. This is the weird thing, because the oil is still kind of being pounded and it's kind of running a bit here and there with as the water courses down over the surface, it almost like is running. So you're going to get kind of like streakiness going downward from these areas. We're just going to keep playing with this until we like it. But you get a little bit, and you may get a little bit down there. So you're getting kind of streaky. You want to grab maybe your walnut, mix it in with your wood color, and this isn't an oxide. Greens aren't a paint that would oxidize red. So I think I'm just going to fill it in with a little bit of a darker brown here as far as the cracks go. I just don't want the green to be in there. It would be probably worn out. So we'll see what we can do. Most figureheads actually don't have this amount of grain to them as far as cracking. I've seen carousel horses, old carousel horses that look like this. But especially on an oak figurehead, you wouldn't get this amount of cracking, I think, unless it really got waterlogged and dried out and waterlogged and dried out. But I could be wrong about that, but oak is really resilient. So we're going to get this. We're going to bring in more brown, more of our driftwood brown. I do love driftwood brown for so many things. It's great for a lot of different weathering effects. It also is a great dust and dirt color. Maybe it kept sinking, yeah. Yeah. Welding has taught you that you are flammable. Yes, absolutely. I was just terrified of the torch in my metals class for the first... Like, I think I got comfortable with it 3 weeks before the end of the semester. Like, I got a lot more comfortable. Prior to that, I was totally paranoid. Probably better than being, all laissez-faire about it, right? So we're going to bring up some more of this. I'm going to think about how I want this to kind of speckle. And this is really thin paint, so I'm not getting a lot of sharp detail here. If I wanted a little bit sharper detail, I'd have to build up my paint a bit. But I want this to be weathered. So if you want a natural weathered effect, unlike today's paints, I kind of talked about this before, is today's paint, flakes. It flakes up and off. So it's got definitely very hard edges of weathering. But oil paint didn't weather like that. It didn't. It would more streak. And it was doing this over the course of, days or weeks, remember? So like, and of course they'd hold off, getting their figurehead repainted probably until they absolutely had to, because it costs a lot of money to get those painters out to paint your figurehead. So you've got this stuff just wearing off over the course of a very long time, which means you're not going to get any really harsh like lines, right? It's going to be weathering on top of weathering on top of weathering, and it's going to go slowly and wear off like so. Yeah, absolutely, oil painted. If you look at I think it's the Italian Maritime Museum. They've got a bunch of examples of painted and naked figureheads. Naked meaning no paint. So it depends on if they've been restored or not. Couves, anything, or if they're a more recent figurehead. But those were usually kind of like just fanciful, done, as an homage to older times. Figureheads, I think, were at the height in like the 1600s. And then they were just so bloody expensive, and they were also heavy. And threw off the boats. They didn't sail quite as well with them. I mean, when superstition stopped being as much of a thing is when figureheads fell a bit out of fashion. They were originally meant, and their ancient boats also had their versions, thus the dragon prow on the Viking vessels and stuff like that. And Phoenician vessels had eyes painted on them so that the boat could see its way through the waves. So when you start seeing the retreat of that sort of superstition, you start seeing the retreated figureheads. They became more just symbolic. Maybe it would just be half of a bust. Maybe it would just be like a kind of a coat of arms plate on the front of the ship that threw it off less. You got more emphasis on how does the ship sail and less about do we have a supernatural thing to protect us from the angry sea gods. Yeah. Effing. Automod held your message. Oh, wait. Here we go.
Oh.
Allow. I allowed it. I'm okay with effing. That's a good of a swear non-swear word. That's all right. Sorry, we've been working with Nightbot's parameters to make it less painful to you guys. David is helping me because he's so nice. So I'm going to bring out a bit of that. I'm going to get a little bit of this tan color up here to like make it look like this is all coming off. I want more, I think, driftwood here because what I have here now is a little bit too stark of a transition from my wood to my green. And so I want to suggest that this is getting slowly eaten off. And so I'm going to put a glaze. Really, this is just a little more than a glaze. Because it's you can still see the green through it, right? It's just a little bit of brown. I could probably thin it even more for a more effective thing. But if I start with a bit of brown there, it's going to look more realistic. Because then you can really see it coming off. So let's thin our driftwood brown just a little bit. Just got to think about how physics is acting on the surface. Yeah, I've read all the books, Shadow Raven. I think those are ones that I got rid of before I moved because it's such a huge set of books. And I can always reacquire them on Kindle if I feel like it. But people underrate him, O'Brien. He has some really funny moments in his books. Even though it's really archaic writing in a lot of ways. Oh, sorry. I was thinking Phoenician. Well, Phoenician and Greek, right? I should have... or do they still, are you saying? I guess it could still be a tradition. There are still superstitious people out there. Alright, so let's get over here. Kind of extend our graininess here. I want to bring in a little bit of darkness there. What do we got? We're at 1050? Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well here, showing you guys what I mean about how this weathering would happen. So it's always worth it when you're going to do weathering to look up examples of what you're trying to reproduce. And look up, like, if you can find, sometimes you'll find, like, a scholarly article about, you know, X, Y, or Z, and they'll talk a little bit about how stuff would wear and get replaced, right? And sometimes you have to look a lot, like me the other day. Sometimes you have to spend 3 hours until you find kind of what you're dealing with. And here it's kind of a fight, I think, because this would be wearing, but it's also in shadows. So here I think I have to do my brown and then shade it with walnut if I want the right effect. So can't have any green in that.
If that's going to Reaper, do you think they're actually going to mount it on the ship?
I have no idea. Now that I've kind of managed to break it off of its thing. Oh, that happened earlier, David. So, because they use a crappy Games Workshop flight base, or a crappy flight base. It may not have been a Games Workshop flight base. To be fair, it could be a crappy Reaper flight base. I don't know. But they used this horrible flight base, and we all know how horribly fragile these are. And they only had it attached by that and her toe. And so, essentially, it rolled off the desk, I caught it, and it broke. Which is great, because actually, it's much easier to paint when it's not on the big base, but I'm going to have to fix it. But since it's broken off, they could actually mount it on the boat. They only had it mounted on that trophy thing, I think, as a display, but they may want to display it like that and not put it on the boat. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to put the Grim Reaper one on the boat, because Ed and Dave.
Oh, I didn't realize there were two.
There are three.
Oh, there are three?
There's a hippocampus, which is actually really nice. But it's fairly simple. And then this is the most elaborate one, I think. And then there's Grim Reaper. But we're not getting the boat because it won't fit in our apartment. Seriously, it won't. It's massive. I mean, look at how big the figurehead is, and then imagine. It's one of those, like, 5 feet long things. We don't have the room. We'd have to hang it from the ceiling like an stuffed alligator in an alchemist shop. Oh, is it? This is the one that comes packed with the ship. Oh, okay. They is Ed and Dave. Yeah, see, I would have thought they'd want to put the Reaper one on. Oh, nice. Greek small craft still have eyes. That's fantastic. Hey, Gergie. Yeah, gosh, we've been talking about history and weathering and oil paint and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's been a really fun stream, actually. And we hit a level 5 hype train earlier. Thank you again, everybody, for all the subs and follows. They make a huge difference. And just based on all of the enthusiasm for this, like I said, I'm strongly considering adding another day of streaming to my schedule. I have a lot to get done on the Patreon at the end of the month. I might do it like add days, but not add them at the end of the month, because definitely the work piles up, and I have to catch up a bit toward the end of the month on everything. All right, so again, we don't not necessarily do that kind of speckling right there, but we're seeing a bit of wear already. I've got this laid down thin coat of driftwood brown, so I can start doing this speckling with the lighter. And it should look kind of gritty at that point. So at that point, it should look like the wood grain is there and the paint is kind of wearing away from it. I think this is actually fairly successful. This looks a lot like the photographs that I was looking at. Maybe even with if I did even a little less speckle on the very centers. So let's carry that out a bit. And remember, it's going to streak a bit. It's going to speckle and streak a bit, because the water's running down the front of the figurehead, right? So it's going to kind of like run down in rivulets, and it's going to affect things because of the flowing motion. So then at the center of here, we could probably even make it more solid of a pale area. Depends on how worn you want it to be. Like if you want to be seeing naked wood, and this actually looks a little bit darker in person. It's coming off a little light here. Maybe I can shift it if I put some white palette under it. Well, yeah, okay. But it's more of a light tan in person. So the more you get down to that light tan color, the more it's going to look like you're just looking at raw wood. And then you've got some serious paint corrosion going on. So one of the models I was looking at was very much kind of had a bald, pale patch on her leg or her skirt. I found several figureheads that were painted green. It was apparently a pretty popular color for figureheads. possibly because it was a little less expensive than something like red or blue. Most of the red that I saw was going to be paler or done in small amounts. So there's definitely kind of a, which colors wore the best. You could also think about like things like light fastness in those days and stuff. Which pigments. They're probably using a pretty heavy oxide green, because there used to be such things on some of the greens here. But a green oxide is going to weather differently. So I don't want to go with that orangey undertone. Doesn't make sense. I'd have to look that up. That'd take more research. How does oxide green weather or oxidize? Oh, Vancouver's a beautiful city. I had lots of fun in Vancouver. Approximately 32 inches long, 4 feet long. No, 3 feet long. That seems small. I thought it was bigger. I'm thinking here, like 3 feet. It's immense. But, yeah. Awesome. But anyway, so do you guys have any questions about what I'm doing as I slowly introduce? And you should leave, there should be some green patches. There should be, you definitely, as I move over the surface of this model, we're going to get some, like this leg is thrust forward. It's going to take a lot of the brunt of the waves coming up, right? So we know probably the entire front of this leg is going to take a lot of weathering. But this area, which is off, slightly off to the side, right? Because it's falling backwards, like here. So more water is going to hit this more directly, and here especially. And not as much is going to hit back here. So here we're probably going to be able to retain more of our greens and just pay attention, and maybe like these folds are probably going to hit more, like the underside of this, maybe a bit more on the undersides of things to show where the water is hitting. And then this might get a bit. You got to think about what's facing the waves, what's likely to take the brunt of the damage, and modify your damage accordingly. If you're into realism. Which I am. Or you could just go crazy and get your style on. Just gonna do a little bit. I guess forgot to do some of my green on this side. So you'll have noticed that I didn't bring my green up super light before I started doing all this stuff. If I want like normal, like brighter highlights on my regular green, then I can totally bring those in, but I didn't want to mess with them over an area that I was just gonna, essentially abrade all the paint off of, or almost all the paint off of. Yeah, Coobs, apparently that's a thing now, since so many companies are thinking about extending remote working, that people are, if they can work remotely, they're like, well, I'm just going to move back to my hometown, or I'm going to move, somewhere cheaper where I can actually afford a house, or it seems to be a thing.
Certainly my coworkers think it's a thing.
Yeah, well, living here with this rent, I could see it. All right, so let's do a little bit of weathering up top here, and then we can kind of call this stream for a bit. I'm surprised that Kiri didn't have she had a Kiri emergency just before the stream, but she's been a good girl for the stream. So getting a little bit more of that. I think I definitely want it more down here, though, so I don't want to bring up too much up top. When the leg is slanting, I think I want a little bit more sheltered of an area up over this fold. And, a lot of the time you're guessing. You're kind of guessing how the water would hit it. But as long as you make an effort. And then if it ever doesn't look right, you can adjust. So yeah, looking like that. Hey, JS Sprinkle. Thanks for the follow. Oh, I see. Upper management wants to add 90 plus minutes to everyone commute. Ugh. Yeah, it's nice when you can work remote. I mean, obviously, being freelance now, I am working from home. And it's going to be weird when David stops working from home, because I'm so used to having him around now. There we go. Little bit, just tiny bits. So kind of like that. Kind of like that. So you can see, I'm looking at this. I'm really happy with this effect right here. This actually looks like wood that the paint is being slowly like pounded off of. Like, I really love the effect. This looks like what I was looking at yesterday. So we've got some like little artifacts. We've got a little bit of green here and there, some random little streaks and bits, some speckles. You can see where it's just wearing off. I love it. I love it. I'm very happy with this. I'm happy I did the research and looked up the effect, because it definitely is a little bit different than like today's paints, which flake. No problem. Almost 40 inches with the bowsprit. Yeah, I thought it was closer to 40 inches. I thought it was truly immense, almost 4 feet long.
Are there any photos of the, or even like renders?
There's renders of the pirate ship. I have them probably back in my email. They're in the Kickstarter. If I'm on the, I actually bought into the Kickstarter because I wanted a few things.
I'm looking at the Kickstarter and I'm only seeing work in progress renders.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure how much they put up. I remember seeing at least one work in progress.
All photos show ship in progress.
Yeah.
Reaper pirate ship, parentheses, cool name soon.
Yes. That's the last update on it. And they're just reserving that right because Ed knows that he might change something.
Yeah,
or, you know.
No, that's fine. I was just
they're still changing stuff.
They had any finished?
I don't think so. There's photos on the forum, Crowley Hunter. Kickstarter forum on reapermini.com/forum. They showed it yesterday.
Are those the photos? They showed it yesterday.
Yeah, Tister says.
I'm just looking at May 29th, Reaper John, work in progress.
Yeah. Interesting. Pics on Ron's desk. Man, you could fit something like that on Ron's desk? Like, Ron's desk is always filled with everything. What, is there a mountain of miniatures with a pirate ship on top? Where you can't even see his monitor anymore? Like, that's Ron's desk. In fact, we need a miniature of Ron's desk. It will be a desk piled high with miniatures with a little Ron behind the desk, totally hidden by the giant pile of miniatures.
Which thread are the photos in?
I do not know. I'm not sure about the thread. They showed it yesterday on the stream last night. They showed it with Sir Forescale on the deck. He looked tiny. The table behind the desk. I see. So there's a picture of it on Ron's desk on the table behind his desk. Yeah, I'm about to call it, guys. Thank you all for coming out. We got 69 viewers. We almost got to our 75. I'm so happy. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all coming out to watch the stream. Oh, okay. There is a break in the minis where you can actually see his eyes. So we should just have a pile of minis with, like, sad-looking eyes that are Ron. Look in the Bones Enthusiasm thread, Pendrake says. 71? Okay, well, maybe some of them... Maybe my Twitch is just a little bit slow.
Yeah, I see them. Thanks.
Awesome. David can now see them. Thank you all for helping me, like, work toward my goals, because every bit of progress helps. Even if we didn't hit 75 today, we got really close, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. Like, we just need to keep working at it. It's always just to keep working at it. It'll happen eventually. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy with how the wood is coming. So, good. Now it's 72. That's my lucky number. Yep, but we're going to actually call it and say goodbye so that I can take Kiri outside and finish up some Patreon stuff and then start lunch. And thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. It was fun to do this on a Friday. Like I said, keep an eye out. I'm probably going to add another day to my Twitch schedule in the future to see if we can maintain our momentum. So yes, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the hype train. Thank you for hitting level 5. That was great. You're all wonderful. I hope you have a fantastic Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend. All right? We will see you laters. Yes, thank you. And maybe I'll put a picture up on my Discord. Take a photo of her front of her leg so you guys can see it, like, close up. KK? All right. Has a good one. Bye.